highest revenue day so far was £22,000.
Why did you decide to start your own business?
I wanted more from myself. I felt like I had more to give. I was exhausted at the time. I couldn't see it going anywhere. That's why I was really excited about this program, because I could see a lifestyle that not just benefited me, but everyone else around me as well.
Talk to us now about some numbers.
The total revenue to date, we've been trading properly for 8 months, we haven't got a full year yet, is £307,000. I previously had a part-time job while my business was making sales and doing well. I just quit that job.
Welcome to the Dropship Unlocked podcast. I'm Lewis Smith, the founder of Dropship Unlocked, and with me is our client success coach, James Eardley. Now, when we're not recording podcast episodes or running our own e-commerce businesses, you'll find us helping aspiring entrepreneurs launch their own high-ticket dropshipping stores. So if you're ready to build your own 6 or even 7-figure online business, then head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start. Now, sit back, relax, and let's unlock your potential with the Dropship Unlocked podcast. In today's episode, it's time to highlight an incredible success story of one of our members inside the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass. We're joined today by Adam. He started his e-commerce journey relatively recently and has already achieved some remarkable results. So I think you're going to really enjoy this one. You'll see that Adam's a great guy. He's exactly the kind of member that we love having at Dropship Unlocked. So if you've ever wondered what it's like to go from a standing start to hitting £300,000 or more in sales in just an 8-month period of time with a new business, and having days of hitting £22,000 in sales, single days where he's earning double the profit in a single day than he'd earned in his previous job in an entire month, then I think you're going to love today's episode. So with that said, let's dive into the conversation with Adam. So Adam, welcome to the Dropship Unlocked podcast. Wanted to start off by asking you to take us back a little bit in time, if you could, before you joined Dropship Unlocked, and let us know what was life like back then and why did you decide to start your own business? What were you doing?
Oh, that is a good question. That's a bit of a blast from the past, that one. So take myself back before I started the program and set up a business. I was working in a very busy hospital. I had 2 roles there in the hospital, very busy. And yeah, that was a very different time for me. I hadn't even set up the business or even joined the course yet.
What did a day look like back then? You say 2 roles in a hospital. What can you do? Walk us through a typical day in the life of, if you can, Adam.
Oh, wow. So it would be me sat in a very dark office. They had to build a new outbuilding. So they had to put wooden boards all over our windows, which was brilliant. So picture yourself, the dark office, downstairs, just me. We used to work in cancer research, so we used to have to travel across different sites, so go to different hospitals, talk to patients. Long day, probably 10, 12 hours, and then we're talking 2 hours on the bus to there and back for work, so around 14-hour days. Yeah, it's a very different industry. It's very difficult, and I used a lot of my time, a lot of my just daily time that I'd use with friends, people, family I care about was just kind of at work, really. And that, yeah, didn't really sit well.
You must have felt exhausted at the end of a 14-hour day, so 10 to 12 hours of work time and then a 2-hour bus journey commuting wise. I mean, how would you feel at the end of a day like that?
It was exhausting. Like, it was, in some cases it could be quite rewarding, but it was just tiring. Like, your whole time as a person was spent serving someone else or serving other people, and rewarding in some ways, but yeah, it was just unsustainable was the issue. And after a few months of it, you start to, your energy levels wear down. You can't do things you enjoy. You're a bit grumpier to the people around you. Sounds all very negative, but I apologize. But yeah, that was my experience of the time and the place.
Yeah, no, that's perfect for us to build up a picture of where you were at, what you were thinking mentally before you decided to get into Dropship Unlocked or start your own business. So could you pinpoint, was there a moment, do you remember there being a bit of a breakthrough for you when you were in that role in your previous job where you knew that you had to do something and you had to change the life that you were living?
100%. I remember it very, very well. I think it was the middle of winter. So I think we were around the end of November. It was very dark and we'd had a lot of people leave the department. And it was just me left. And there was huge expectations for me to help fill their roles as well. And I remember just sitting in this office thinking, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if this is the life I want to live anymore. I was late 20s, but always wanted to make a difference and do something new for myself. And yeah, that was a pivotal moment. I said, I have to do something today to make this change. Otherwise, it's never going to happen for me. I remember that very well. I remember it was raining, it was cold. I had to cycle on a bike across the city to a different hospital at like 8 p.m. And I was like at an hour bus journey at 10 p.m. home. And I was like, this is the day things change for me. I hope.
Yeah, it's great to be able to form that image of you in that cold, dark office space in the dark. And oftentimes what we notice is people get into businesses or get into Dropship Unlocked when workplace attitudes change. We've heard that story before. There's a shift in work and suddenly things can go downhill fast. So what were you feeling? Do you remember the feelings you were having? Did you feel worried about your future? Or were you excited about a new change? What were the feelings that you were having?
Mate, that's a really good question. I had mixed emotions. I was excited about my future, but I was apprehensive because I didn't know what direction it could go into. So I don't think I was quite affiliated with the program yet. I wasn't 100% aware of what you guys did and the support you had. So I was apprehensive and I was worried about staying where I was. That was never an option. So I was in this middle place of I don't want to be here. What's my next chapter? What's my next journey?
Yeah, you're kind of in limbo by the sound of it. And I can relate to that as well. I had a very similar moment where like you say, that you remember the room you were in. I remember the conversation that was happening around me. And I remember that time. And it doesn't happen like that for everybody, but it sounds like for you, it was quite similar to me, that there was a moment where you're like, okay, the scales have just tipped towards I'm doing something different now. So what was it about your situation that made you want to make that change? Right? Because I think a lot of people have bad days. A lot of people are probably doing jobs where they're working 14-hour days. But was there something that perhaps you were feeling a certain way about your life leading up to that point that caused those scales to shift in the direction of, okay, that's enough, I'm doing it?
I think for myself, there was quite a few points going on. I wanted more from myself. I felt like I had more to give. I could learn more, be more, grow more. And I felt like I wasn't getting that in my job. I was exhausted at the time. So I was struggling with the tiredness and not fulfilling my potential. That was a big, big thing for me. And yeah, I couldn't see it going anywhere. And I know, there's lots of people in the world now, and we all kind of have our desires and our dreams and so forth. But this wasn't for me. And for the last few years, I was trying to build something and I couldn't see it going anywhere. And that's why I was really excited about this program, because I could see a lifestyle that not just benefited me, but everyone else around me as well, and something I could continually learn and grow into. And that was the thing that really excited me. I really like to continually learn. And yeah, there was a barrier in any previous role. You always get to a ceiling that can't really be surpassed.
Yeah, I resonate with that feeling of you're not able to reach your full potential and the big goals that you had for yourself. But it's easy to just go year after year in the job that you maybe hadn't intentionally gone into, like myself. And you suddenly start to think, well, how am I going to ever get to the goals that I've got if I continue in this path? So definitely resonate with you on that. Now, Adam, you're a bit different to most people though, because I think a lot of people, when they have a bad time in their job, a lot of people's mindsets goes, well, I'll get a new job. But you obviously were switched into, I want to learn more, I want to be more, I want to achieve more and more from life. So you decided maybe to go down the business route that it would give you more freedom. Why do you think you were switched in that way to go towards growing more? What do you think had grown in your life to that point to become somebody that wanted bigger aspirations rather than just being okay with just getting a new job?
I've had loads of jobs in my time. I could probably count, I think 7 or 8. I've studied. So I studied forensic science in the past. I've, worked for universities. I've worked in small shops, big retail stores. They all led to the same outcome. So for the first part of that question, that's why I didn't want to get another job, because I could just see the same cycle repeating itself. And I wanted to step out of that cycle. Secondly, the way the world is and the way the economy is, again, every time I stepped up and got a new job, I earned more money, but then it never led to anything. I still couldn't buy my own house. I still couldn't, do the 2 or 3 holidays a year that I wanted. Inflation was going up. And I think a big turning point as well, and I think it would have been for a lot of people, was COVID, where really you do feel quite vulnerable and isolated. And at the time, obviously kind of half working in the hospital. At the beginning, I wasn't. You're kind of dependent on someone else to look after you. And that could be nice in some ways, but I didn't like that dependency. I wanted to be able to grow something. So whatever the world brings me, turmoil, stress, pandemics, I could weather it and move forward and create a system that, again, supports me and everyone else that's around me.
No, I love that. It was an awakening for me, I think, as well, actually, around that time in 2020, when we realized how fragile potentially the lives that we live are, and also how fragile the control we have over our lives can be as well. So that's probably some deep-seated reasons as to why I felt like I wanted to take more control of my life and build my own business and have my own income, rather than being reliant on a job, like you say, in the types of jobs we were in beforehand. So you've clearly decided to shift then. At that point, you had that moment. What was the first thing you did to clue yourself up into starting a business? Do you remember what really was the first few actions you were taking to shift yourself away from 9 to 5 into becoming a business owner?
Yeah, I remember very vividly, I set up 2 small eBay stores to begin with. I tried to sell software originally. What a great idea. Buy software in bulk, sell it on. Didn't realize very quickly you need licenses to sell this stuff. So got a little bit of trouble with Microsoft. Never a nice start to doing something.
Bill Gates coming after you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he's a very busy man, so he sent someone else to kind of deal with me. But it was a huge learning curve, and I thought, like, this is great. I really enjoyed that. I did make a little bit of money. It wasn't enough to pay my bills or anything like this, but it was like, got a lot to learn. But remember that first 2 steps, 2 eBay stores. I think the other one I was selling game codes. So again, it's something you could automate. Struggled with this. You're very dependent on overseas pricing and licenses and how they decide to treat you. And I realized, okay, good start. This isn't a great framework. I'm kind of chucking darts really and seeing what sticks. And I was hitting a lot of zeros, as the way I've put it. Yeah.
With game codes, is that where you purchase a code so that you can then download a game online without having to have the physical copy of the game? Is that what you mean?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. I've seen those. Yeah. So it sounds like you say, throwing darts in the dark is a good metaphor there. How much time would you say you spent feeling like that, going down different rabbit holes and kind of not really knowing whether that would be the right path to get to where you wanted to be?
I would say about 3 years, 3.5 years. I was trying a few different ventures, try, fail, go back to your job, you ignore it for 3-4 months, you start again. But for about 3 years I was trying, and I learned a lot, but didn't get very far.
Yeah. So 3 years is a lot of time to be in that kind of limbo land, like you say. And it sounds like you learned some good things. But I mean, where did you first find out about us at Dropship Unlocked? What was your first interaction with us?
First interaction, I remember it very vividly, Lewis. I had a lovely advert from yourself on Facebook.
Facebook, okay.
Yeah, it was on Facebook. And yeah, I remember that very well because I tried to do dropshipping in the past. I tried to do game codes and so forth. And I remember you were talking about UK selling, UK products. And I thought, this makes a lot more sense for me. There's definitely a Facebook advert.
Right. So I get a lot of Facebook adverts. I see a lot of strange people on the internet trying to sell me things. You must have been hesitant And you must have been skeptical when you first saw that, like anyone would be. Talk us through that. Like, what first goes through your mind when you see an ad like that and you think, okay, here we go. What's this guy going to try and sell?
Another guy, another guru, yeah, trying to sell me his process and so forth. Well, I have seen a lot of adverts, like you say, to different things. I've read a lot from all over the world, different entrepreneurs doing stuff. And one, it was the fact that you've done it yourself. So that's a big key for me whenever looking for mentorship on someone to help you. Someone that's done it is, it has to be. You can't take advice from someone who's never been in that industry. So I know thank you very much, by the way, done all the hard work for us and, paved the way to work out all the kinks and the problems. So the fact you've done it yourself, you'd shown it works, you'd validated it, and then you'd created a framework for other people. It was two other points. The fact that you said you wanted to do UK products, it felt like such a legitimate business than from buying abroad, not, diminishing products sold from many countries, but buying stuff from abroad where you don't know what's going on, you don't know the quality, don't know the licenses, you don't know delivery times. And the third point was the fact you were talking about selling high-end goods. Again, I've been in the position before of trying to sell 20, 30 game codes a day to try and make some money. I was like, oh, actually, I could sell 1 or 2 high-end items and make more than doing 30 small items. It's less admin. I get much better connection with our customers and make a little bit more money. It was triple win for me.
Triple win, as I say. So that's interesting. So it was personal experience, UK versus products from abroad, and high ticket, meaning a lower volume of sales. Those are the 3 things then that changed your mind, because when you see this stuff, you have to put this through some kind of mental filter. Otherwise, you'd just be buying everything from every ad you see on Facebook. And I think a lot of people fall into the trap of almost just having complete ad blindness, so they can never be helped by anything out there, even the stuff that is valuable. So those 3 things were the things that tipped it for you?
Yeah, 100%. That is a very key point. I remember reading a book years ago. I think it's from Duncan Bannatyne. And he always stated, he said, in this information age, the biggest issue you'll face is not the lack of information, but who to listen to. And yeah, I think you're right. You can easily close your mind off and go, nothing's ever going to work. But I don't know, it just resonated with me. You're very calm the way you talked. You weren't trying to push the advert. And yeah, it was those 3 points. They were just very logical. I try and be quite logical with business ideas.
Absolutely. So for me, it was a YouTube ad that I came across from Lewis, and he was explaining the same model. And yeah, for me, the fact that it was the home turf advantage, the fact that it was UK suppliers selling to UK customers, it all made a lot more sense for me, rather than the things that I was trying was like trying to get products from halfway around the world in China over to customers in the US or Canada even. And I just couldn't get a handle on it. Whereas if I knew I had a UK mentor as well that could talk me through it, it was a no-brainer. So I'm keen to hear about your journey then. So you heard about Lewis, heard about Dropship Unlocked, understood that there was another way to make money online rather than the things you tried and not had too much success with in the first place. What was it that got you over the initial maybe skepticism about an ad in front of you? What made you feel like it was going to be worth the investment for you to jump into the program and get started?
My process for working out, like you say, James, what's the benefit? It's like a risk aversion, I guess. After seeing Lewis's advert, after deciding I wanted to set up a business, I kind of have a risk reward framework in my mind. And I looked at the risks of staying in my 9 to 5 as one option. What's going to happen? I'm going to continue in this same circle of life that I'm having. Less protection. I could be fired at any time. Also, try and be a good employee, but you don't have that. You don't have that certainty. Pandemics. Trying to afford a house, help support people around me, my friends, family, be able to travel. So this was the risk of staying in my job, was to lose all this stuff. And then I looked at the reward system of setting up my own business. So working with Dropship Unlocked, setting up a lifestyle business, and it was freedom of time, potentially more money, more earnings. The option to create and build something which is really key for me because I like to build and create stuff. It makes me feel very fulfilled in my day-to-day life. And again, having that freedom to help people. I can employ people, I can help them have a better job, and I can give them in a job what I felt I wasn't given when I was an employee. So support, mentorship, flexibility, normal, treat someone like a human, like it's okay to have a bad day, I'm not angry at you. It's cool.
Just thinking about getting yourself to that moment where you knew you were going to go all in. Because for me, it felt like when I joined the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass to build my business, the moment I joined, I remember that feeling like a moment where I was like, right, I'm going all in now. I'm going to make this work no matter what comes my way, because I had gone all in. So let me know. I want to go deep again, Adam. What were those real feelings? You talked about making sure that you're looking at the risks, weighing up your futures with two different decisions and which way you go. Why did you feel so strongly that choosing to build a business with Dropship Unlocked was the right decision compared to what would have happened if you'd carried on down the same road?
I couldn't go back to that life, to be completely honest. I couldn't live that way anymore. I couldn't, struggle doing 2 or 3 people's jobs, not being appreciated, not fulfilling my purpose. It just wasn't an option anymore. I didn't feel like I was living the life I wanted. I know this is quite a deep personal answer, but this is genuinely how I felt. It just wasn't an option. It just couldn't allow that to be what I wanted to be. And yeah, that was the key differentiation. And when I looked at what I could gain and what I could build, it was just like you say, James, like you have to go all in and say, I'm 100% committed to this. And anything you do in life is difficult. Having a job is difficult. There's obstacles to overcome. Same with a business. And I thought I might as well put my energy into that because I get more out of it than I would. There's more potential upside. And the risk is, okay, I go get another job. I've got my skills and my qualifications. There's no risk in that sense. I can always go back and do another full-time role. But yeah, there was no way.
I like that. No option. There's no option of going back. We're doing this regardless. So talk us through then what happened from there, Adam. Like, you'd made the decision, we're going to do this. You've seen the ad, you've made the decision. What happens next? You booked a call with our team, presumably?
Yeah. So booked a call with your team, had a nice chat with, I think it was Mahmood. Pretty simple. Got signed up, joined the program that day. Had this access to suddenly, I think there's like 50, 60 other entrepreneurs on the same journey. This like group chat, everyone's talking about their ideas and their worries and concerns. I thought, oh, I'm in. And then joined the classroom. It was quite quick. Started the program and started the videos. And then, yeah, just work my way through there, really.
What does it feel like to suddenly go from being on your own, a little bit lost, throwing darts in the dark, to being in a community of people like that who've also gone through that exact same moment of, going back is not an option. I'm doing this. Suddenly, within a split second, you're there, you're in. How does that feel?
It's weird, mate, to be honest. It's odd because it's such a contrast, and you feel a little bit like, a bit skeptical because a little bit too good to be true. And I think in life, we're always looking for people that have the same agenda or same ideas as us, that have the same desires. And, can you find the odd person, but then you join a community and everyone is similar to you. They all got the same path. So it's a nice feeling, but there's a little bit of skepticism at first. That disappears after a couple of days and you're like, oh, this is great. This is really fun. And your motivation just jumps very, very high after that. Yeah, very nice. It was very nice.
And you threw yourself straight into the community, took action straight away. I mean, since starting the program, and we'll get on to talk about where you're at now and some of the results and successes you've had since. But since starting there, have there been any surprising, or I guess what's been the most impactful, surprising change for you in life so far? It doesn't have to just be in business, but like looking back at that previous version of you that was cycling between hospitals at 8 p.m. in the rain, not happy with where you were at, to where you are now. What would you say has been the most surprising thing that maybe the former you wouldn't have realized would be a result of doing this?
I think for me, two most surprising impactful changes for me so far. One, I got my time back. I didn't think it could happen in such a short space of time. So when I joined the program, I still had my 9 to 5 job, so I could do it around that. So there was a small period of extra work. But now I work for myself, don't have another job, just do my business. So I got my time back. That was amazing. The biggest impactful change for me is the community. Just groups of people, same mission, lovely to talk to. They give me advice, I give them advice. It's like co-working space in a sense. You're all doing the same thing, helping each other out.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, your success is fantastic. Always love to hear it when members are able to completely change their lifestyle through the businesses that they've built. So leaving your 9 to 5 job, but also the slightly more surprising element of it, and I agree, is the people that you meet along the way. Obviously, initially it's a virtual community, but we also have the in-person events now, which really strengthens the connection that we're able to have amongst ourselves. So some big highlights there. I know you're a big member of the community. So how do you think the community in particular, whether it's the virtual community or the in-person events, how do you think that helped you in your journey from going from starting to where you've got to yourself now?
There's always moments of apprehension. Always. You can't avoid that in life. And you get days when you're motivated. And then when you get those apprehensive days, you reach out, you type it out on the community. And then surprisingly, 30 minutes later, someone goes, oh, I dealt with this. I did this, that, and that, and it solved it. And you go, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden, your large problem that you feel is going to take you days to overcome and focus takes 10 minutes. And you go, okay, it does work better with a group of people than it does pioneering on your own, like yourself, Lewis.
I mean, I was in communities. I had support, but there wasn't anything that quite laid it out how to do it in the UK. And I was just hitting all of these roadblocks and being like, why don't suppliers resonate with like the way I'm saying things? And it was all very kind of Americanized. And I just felt like there's definitely a flaw or a gap in the market here where, you know, this can be adapted to the UK, because it's huge in the US and people talk about it all the time there. But in the UK, it was relatively unknown. And I realized after a while, it was actually something that suppliers were receptive to. They just would, or it's almost like they were speaking a different language. You know, they just, the terminology, even like the legalities, the things you have to have on your website, there were just a lot of differences. So yeah, it was a bit of an uphill battle trying to kind of adapt to that. But once I did, I knew that it was a path that other people would want to walk as well. So hence why it came together. But for you, Adam, what would you say so far has been the best moment since joining the program in your life? Like, are there any pivotal moments or days where you think this is very contrasting to where I was previously?
The best moment in the whole program, and this was very recent, we're talking about 3 weeks ago. I previously had a part-time job while my business was making sales and doing well. I just quit that job. So I made that decision, left, and it was so real that this is actually a real thing. It's a real entity. I could pay myself through the business. Yeah, that was by far the best moment. It's a very weird feeling, but it was, everything I've worked for, wanted.
Yeah, to realize that dream you had for so long, you would have visualized it, you'd have written it down in goals, and then to actually see it come to fruition. For me, it was like the first Monday morning that I wasn't expected to go to work, because there's one day is handing the notice in, then there's the 4-week notice period, and then it's that Monday when you have nobody to report to and you don't need to get in your car and commute to work, and you can just do the things you want to work on. I would love everyone to experience that moment, to have that control. And I imagine that, do you remember that first day, that not that long ago for you, a few weeks ago, that first day where suddenly you've got the control back?
Yeah, 100%. Like you say, there's the idea, then you put the notice in, then you wait a while. The first day it happens, I was exhausted. Obviously, running a business and having the other job, I was quite tired. So I actually slept a lot. It was until the Monday after, when I went out for a walk in the morning. I thought, all I've got to do today is what I set on my calendar. Like you say, no pressure, no stress, no morning commute, no afternoon commute. I think we had a really busy morning, then it tailed off in midday. So I went Just went out, went shopping for a bit, didn't go crazy, just chill out, and it's really quiet, not around. And I just remember that freedom. Yeah, that was my proper first day.
Yeah, fantastic. Just the freedom, isn't it, to do what you want, and then when you do work, it's on your own terms. So yeah, love it. Get so excited when I hear people achieve this. It's so impressive, Adam. So to be able to do that, you've obviously got to have the financial backing, to have the confidence to leave a job, to know that you can go out on your own and it will, yeah, at least match or beat the income that you've got from your job. So talk to us now about some numbers. Let's talk sales for a little bit. So what has been your total revenue to date that gave you that confidence that you're able to leave your job?
The total revenue to date, we've been trading properly for 8 months, we haven't got a full year yet, is £307,000 is our total revenue. And that's just got our profits up to 25%. So that's been very nice. Quite a short period, yeah. Chuff for that.
That's fantastic. Going from a standing start on day 0 to 8 months in, that's an incredible achievement. So congratulations. Have there been any significant days, like in terms of revenue, any big days that you think, wow, this is this is high ticket e-commerce at work in action, the home turf advantage models personified in the form of a high revenue day?
Yeah, actually this was very recent as well. So this is about 3 weeks ago, but the highest revenue day so far was £22,000. Again, so at 22% gross profit on that. So that was one day we had 8 sales come in.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that was.
How did that feel? Talk us through that. 8 sales in a day, £22,000 in revenue in a day. Do you say 22% profit margin?
Yeah, 22% profit margin. So double my monthly wage.
In a day?
Yeah, to be honest, be completely transparent, it was great. It felt very real. You do get like a little bit of a moment of imposter syndrome, I guess. You feel like, wow, you look at where I was 12 months ago. This is kind of crazy. And then you're busy serving all the customers and making sure they're happy and giving them calls. So kind of you're dealing with all that in a day. And it comes to the evening and you reflect back and you go, wow, like this is a really viable entity to push forwards for the rest of my life. It's not a short-term thing. This is something I can sustain for the next 10, 15 years. And you think, if I can do that in one day, there's big, high potentials here in this industry. Yeah, very nice, very free feeling. I'm a bit like yourself, like Lewis and James. I don't always celebrate the achievement. So I have to like stop myself and just celebrate a little bit, and got a takeaway, went out with some friends. Try and be quite level-headed, but yeah, great feeling.
Is it about £5,000 profit in the day, or is my maths off there?
No, it's about 4,400. So it should be around, yeah. So yeah, not too.
So about £4,400 in profit in a day. I mean, did you say that's higher than your previous monthly salary?
Yeah, it's about double what I used to get. So that's one day, like working from home, working under my own self-esteem, working. Yeah, about double.
And would you say you worked harder in that day, or like, because I think that's the reason, like that imposter syndrome, it's strange, isn't it? This is the bit that I think we as entrepreneurs learn almost not to feel guilty, because I'd argue you probably did work harder to get to that point than you did in one day of your previous job, or even 1 month, because you had to front load that work and build the systems and take the leap and put your faith in a program and do a lot of things that are quite courageous and scary. But then you get rewarded with a profit of £4,500 in a day. But you could have done that just sitting on your chair at home and doing nothing, right? Because you've built those systems and front loaded it. So that, I think, is the tipping point that I see as really exciting. It's that you've created this system now. You now get to enjoy the fruits of your labor because you made that decision.
Very good point. Yeah, I did forget this. And like you say, yeah, because you question yourself, you go, do I deserve this? Because it's such a contrast. You question, you're so used to the life you used to live. And then you sit here and go, do I deserve this? But you're right, there's a lot of work at the beginning to get to that point, and to get to that point where customers are happy, you get big, these obviously large orders as well. Around £2,000 to £3,000 each order. So customers, to build that value and that trust with the customers takes a long time on the website and through reviews and ordering. And like you say, you reap the rewards and then you can enjoy it for a bit and then you build a little bit more. But yeah, I think as an entrepreneur, I'm assuming others feel this way, but you get apprehensive a bit like, is this happening? Is this really like, you go, no, I've built this, I've done this, yeah.
That's right, because you visualize it that many times, and when it comes to fruition, after all the work you've put in, finally seeing it being real, it can be mind blowing, because on the actual day when this profit comes in, it's not like you put the work in that day. It's all the front loading, which is different to the way that we are used to, I guess, with 9-to-5 jobs. In the past, it was all about what output can you put in each day to earn your wage that day. But it's so different with a business. It's all about front loading the work that you put in from the start.
Yeah. You don't have that feeling with a business. Like, like you're saying, for a job, you have that daily capacity of what you can gain. But with a business, if you just keep adding value every day, every week, it just compounds later on.
There's no cap.
Yeah, exactly. And this is all for our consumer products. We've just gone into a B2B niche now. So we've got two arms of the business, and our products are now £5,000 is the minimum price. So these numbers should then start, by 3 to 5 times should start going up just through different products.
It's amazing. Yeah, super exciting to see the growth that you've had. So to get yourself to this point, as you reflect on your journey from when you first joined Dropship Unlocked, how did you get yourself to this point? Were you the type of person that followed the program to the letter and were very active in the community, etc., and were very engaged? Or did you go off at all on your own tangent? Or I'm interested to hear about how you approached it.
So I did follow the program. There was a few little divergence here and there, but once I got back onto the program and followed the system, everything worked out very well. Been very active in the community. I find that really helps. We share ideas. The program, like you say, is still growing and adding bits on all the time. So we all we'll have different businesses and different niches. So we learn off each other. We go, actually, we could add this in. That'd be very beneficial. So I know yourself, James, and Lewis, you're always adding new content to the program because it's ever evolving system, e-commerce.
Yeah, that's the benefit of having a community of people doing the same model, is that you can keep your ear to the ground of like, where do people run into roadblocks, or where they get stuck. Like we can see as soon as one of these systems that we use changes their process or their interface, it becomes very obvious to us because loads of people start asking the same question, and we're like, hang on a second, a month ago no one was asking that, what's going on? And you realize, it's because Google have changed one of the steps for like the ad account onboarding. And we then just say, okay, like let's find which module has changed, go in, tweak it, or release a new module, for example, to kind of like just completely update it. So I wanted to cover something as well that I know for you, Adam, it hasn't been all, sunshine and rainbows, this journey. Like there have been some difficult moments. And I think it's important to talk about like some of the difficulties and the adversity that you've overcome in order to still get to the point where you're making 22 grand in sales in a single day. Let's talk about like some of the payment stuff, because I know when we talked in person at one of our live meetups recently, you were telling us about some like horror stories you had with Shopify payments, for example, that a lot of people would have said, okay, that's it, it won't work for me, thrown in the towel and given up with the whole business model. So talk us through that.
Yeah, we need to talk about the challenges, can't avoid those. Things are just starting to kick off with us because we're in a higher end niche. We sell a lot of items at around £3,000 or £4,000. I think we're on our like 15th sale. Sold a couple items through Shopify payments, and then Shopify took the money and then they just said, we're not going to release this money for you for 100 days. And you're like, what? So I'm now in a position, I can't find the money to refund the customer. And I owe the customer, a £4,000 item. So I was genuinely a little bit like, oh God, what do I do here? What's my protection? Probably, like you say, not something a lot of people have gone through. So I had to get a loan out, pay use this to buy the product from the supplier, send it to the customer. You go through an emotional phase where you're a little bit unsure and you're worried about the whole system, but then you have to go back to being logical. Well, actually, the niche is validated, so I can sell products. I've just sold a large item. So I could just sell more and use this to pay off the loan and then wait for the money to come back in through Shopify. But yeah, Lewis, you're right. It was a moment where I thought, maybe is this it? That only lasted like a day, and I said, no, come on, Adam, let's crack on and get this sorted.
On a tactical level, what was the answer? Because there'll be people listening who think, well, what happens if that happens to me and Shopify payments decide to have a hissy fit and decide not to pay out my money? Like, what did you do? How did you get around it?
So I set up with Stripe. We've got a second checkout system all up and running. I did that on the same day. Did that in the evening. So I could continue making sales. That was step one, continue making sales.
Keep the money flowing.
Yeah. Keep the revenue in, then you can work out later if I can still make sales. Second step to this was to borrow some money. So, I mean, if you're very lucky and you've got family and friends who are happy to lend you, amazing, there's no interest. But once you get a business, you've got a business account. So I applied through Monzo, or it was Capital on Tap. I can't remember, which is what you suggested. Just got some money and only needed it for 3 months. Use that to pay for the customer. And that was it. I was like, oh, actually, and then business carried on as usual.
Did Shopify payments eventually pay out the funds?
They did. It was a very difficult process. And even after the 100 days, they still didn't pay out. And I had to keep emailing and messaging them. But they finally gave me the money.
You got it eventually?
Yeah, we closed that account down. Got it eventually. It's a big learning curve, but...
Yeah, I haven't seen it happen to many people, but I think it's important to be transparent about this and talk about it, right? Because despite what could have been a business-ending event, you decided on that day, okay, we navigate around it. We create a Stripe account. I think you said you set up with like Klarna and these buy now, pay later services as well. So customers now have 2, if not 3 different options to be able to buy products from you still, despite something like that. It being the problem you encountered, you borrowed some funds, and then, like you say, down the line with a little bit of chasing, you eventually got the money from Shopify anyway. So it's like crisis averted, but it took persistence and it took you taking action. So
yeah, and a little bit of help from the community. And you guys, sometimes you just need that little bit of support. You describe the process, and even people go, no, that's annoying, don't give up. And you go, yeah, you're right, I haven't come this far. Like, if you're in a job and there's a problem, you wouldn't just walk out of the job. You find a solution. It's the exact same. And it has paid off.
100%. It's paying dividends now. But there's 2 things here that was so impressive. So the first thing is having a community around you to give you that emotional support to keep you going, and the tactical support to give you some advice onto the actions to take. But also it's your approach to challenges, which is incredibly impressive. And I think that's a big reason as to why you're at the place you're at now. Is the fact that you were able to stay level-headed and just focus on taking action. Because something that we'll learn as entrepreneurs is that every day there'll be a new challenge that we've got to overcome. Sometimes small, sometimes large in your situation. But the best thing to do is have a positive approach. What do you think your approach is when you come up against these challenges? How do you go about approaching them to make sure that you're proactive and actually overcoming them?
Good point. I think my main framework in my head is you are what you create. Like, you are what you think. So if you think it's a problem, it is a problem. If you think there's a solution, there is a solution. I'm not perfect at it, but I try and follow like a lot of Stoic philosophy. So I'm very into Stoicism. I know, James, you previously kind of mentioned a little bit about Stoicism as well, something you've been interested in. But it's all about the nature of life. Things go up and down, the good and the bad, the yin and the yang. They are all part of it, and you learn to love both. And then through every downside, there's an upside. So these are the kind of like phrases I tell myself in my head and think about, what would a Stoic do? What would someone else do? I know you guys have had your challenges setting up your businesses. Things are fine now. Just because there's an obstacle doesn't mean it's a barrier. You just find a way around it.
So other than the time freedom that you've mentioned, that you've now found yourself with, and the finances, which we've talked about, like some days you're earning double what you would have taken home in an entire month in the profit from your new business. Have there been any other unexpected benefits of running an e-commerce business like this?
Yeah, there's been two really big benefits I didn't anticipate. One is the ability to travel. So a lot of our customers, very high-end customers, if they spend 10, 15,000 pounds and they want to meet me, I can go visit them. This comes out of the business expenses. It doesn't touch my personal wages. So I get to travel, but essentially free personally, which is really nice. I'm not always in the same office, even office space. Also, we have trade shows. They have all around the world, like Greece, Athens, Dubai. So if I ever want to, and there's something I'm considering, is set up different stores in different countries because all our suppliers have warehouses in those places. I can travel to Athens for 5 days, go to the trade show, go talk to people. And also in this business, in this niche, it's a really nice family environment. Everyone's really friendly. So you can just go talk to them, go hang out in their office, chat. So I've kind of created like like colleagues in effect. So that was really unexpected that I'd have that access to like rest of the world, like in essence.
Yeah, it's a great lifestyle. So, like you say, business expenses, but now travel can come as part of your business that you're running. And also, I think travel is on your mind as well in terms of personally just living abroad while running the business. You mentioned something to me offline about that before. Is that coming into your head now that you've got that location freedom that you might do some traveling as well as running the business abroad?
100%. I'm very keen to do some traveling. So around Asia, got my eyes set on Vietnam for 4 weeks. So that would be very nice. I'd like to go to Vietnam, work from wherever I want. I've already got a VA on board who helps me with a lot of work. I'm in the process of training and hiring 2 more. Once they're on board in the next 8 weeks, then it'd be a more of a valid thing for me to disappear for a while, because of the time zone difference, that's all. So they can support our customers. But yeah, all I need is my laptop.
It's a really exciting place to get to. And yeah, highly recommend Vietnam. I've just spent 4 weeks myself in Da Nang in Vietnam, which is like central Vietnam. I know Lewis spent some time there and he actually got me onto the idea of going there as well, because it is a fantastic place for digital nomads. Really well set up with co-working spaces, gym, there's a beach, the weather's great. So there's a lot going for you. So, I mean, do you think that's one of the biggest perks looking ahead now, looking at your life over the rest of the course of this year and beyond? Tell me about how you think this business as well as travel is going to affect everyday life for you.
Big question, a big change. I can go anywhere. Let's give it 2 to 3 months, and I've hired some more VAs, and they're more doing the day-to-day work for me. Yeah, I can. My kind of idea is to get a nice villa in Italy later on, so I can kind of hop there, or I don't need to buy one. You can just rent one. So I could do a few months in Australia, Italy, come home, see family in the UK. Yeah, like almost complete freedom just to kind of travel wherever you need to, and just rest there for a while. Could still do some work I still have, so I'll see some engagement with the business. Yeah, and it's exciting to know about both your travels as well. I know you spent quite a lot of time abroad. I'm not jealous.
It's definitely one of the benefits of a business like this. And it was absolutely one of the prime reasons why I decided to start, because I think that autonomy, that control over where I am. I hate the idea of someone telling me I have to be in a certain place at a certain time. For some reason, it just grates on me, and I'm like, I revolt against it, and I want to create that type of life where I can be anywhere at any time, wherever I want to be. And if that is at home, then that's totally fine, but it's on my terms, and that's the point. And that's why I think, yeah, it's a great business model for anyone that shares those same values and doesn't want to be kind of caged up and told they have to be in work at a certain time in a certain place. So if you were talking to the former version of Adam right now, who was sat in a dark hospital room office in a temporary building, being told that they have to cycle across London in the rain at 8 p.m. before getting on a hour-long bus ride home, and you were, and because there will be people who are in that equivalent scenario right now, maybe not the specifics, not the exact same scenario, but people who are feeling the same way that you did, where the scales are starting to tip towards that moment of them saying, I've had enough. I'm doing something about this. This is not the path I want to be on for the rest of my life. What words of advice would you have to them if they've seen an ad from this strange guy who smiles and is chatting to them in a Facebook ad or a YouTube ad? And what help or advice would you give to them if they're thinking about taking that leap to change the course of the rest of their life and build up that courage? What would you say?
I would say, think about what you could gain. Like, think seriously about what you could gain. There's obviously, if someone's seen the ads or they're deciding they want to set up a business, there's a reason for it. There's obviously something in their minds that's making them actually, want to do it. If you're fully content, you might not be interested. But think of what you can gain and then the reasons why you want to step away from your situation now. And what's the risk of not doing anything? Like what is the risk? And I could label the risk quite large. Inflation's going up, value of money is always going down, so savings no longer, that beneficial as it used to be for our parents who had pensions, etc. You could see the economy changing, see the world changing, and just look at what you could potentially lose and not being the best version of yourself. That's what I'd always tell people. Once you've got to that stage, just do it. Don't think too much. Just do it. Get on with it. Copy Nike. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And if somebody was thinking specifically Dropship Unlocked, and you knew you've been through that process, you've built the business with Dropship Unlocked, and you're still an active member in the community now. If you're speaking to somebody that's dialed in on a business, yes, but they're also dialed in on e-commerce and using Dropship Unlocked, what would your advice be for somebody that's about to start the Dropship Unlocked program and is thinking about getting started? How would you tell them to consider joining?
I'd always say follow a mentor or mentors who have done it already. So like both yourselves and even me, like I've personally gone through the process and I know it works. We've made sales, we've made good profit, living example. The program does set it all out and it is works for what I'm looking for. It's UK based, UK products. We know all the laws and licenses here in the UK. You're protecting yourself. You can offer next day delivery. You talk to UK customers. The language barriers are easier. There's so many benefits. And then once you've got this framework working, you can then put this across in different countries. But it's best to start in the country you understand and we have the laws here and you can sell high prices. Sort of makes sense.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, it's fantastic. And having that proven system in front of you really allows you to just go all in and not have to think about what to do. Just make sure you're taking the actions. So I'm keen to ask you, Adam, as well. Now that you've got yourself to a position where you've left your job, your business is bringing in consistent sales, you're thinking about location freedom and traveling the world. I'd like to ask you, if you were now speaking with a previous version of you that hadn't yet joined Dropship Unlocked, what do you think that person would think of you right now if they looked at where you are a few months later? What do you think that person would think of the person you are today?
I think they'd be proud, mate. I think they'd be proud that I've started to become and have become the person I've wanted to be. Yeah, when you're stuck in that cycle, it can be hard to see out of the smoke, in a sense, and it's hard to visualize yourself who you could be. But once you are it, you're like, this is how it should be. So yeah, I think proud, and also a bit like about time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people end up feeling caged up, like they don't have that autonomy or that control over their time, and that someone's telling them where to be and at what time. And that frustrates me.
Yeah, Lewis, I'm exactly the same. It's my personality trait. I'm quite an energetic person. I like to build and create stuff, like I mentioned before. And yeah, I feel the same. Sometimes just being slotted in a time slot, 9 to 5, same building, same place. Yeah. I don't think humans are always built to be in a process. And unlike you, I like to feel a bit free. I work very hard, but I like moments to kind of come and go as I please as well. So yeah, that's been a really key point that I probably haven't touched on. My personality trait really does fit a more nomad lifestyle of on the move, and having new experiences. And yeah, I'm a bit of a better boss, I hope, than I am an employee. So yeah, we've all got pros and cons.
So, Adam, I just wanted to say a huge thank you for joining us today on the podcast. Really enjoyed the conversation. We're certainly both very proud of you and your progress. And I'm sure the former version of yourself would be very proud of you if they could see you today. So well done and congratulations. And I know you've just joined us in our Inner Circle Mastermind as well. So we're looking forward to spending the full day with you soon at a mastermind, diving into your business and seeing if we can help you take it to the next level. So thanks for joining us on the Dropship Unlocked podcast.
Honestly, thanks so much, Lewis and James. Thanks for having me. I've genuinely really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed all my time at DSU, hence why I'm still here. And I'm really excited about the Inner Circle and taking my business to the next level and then onwards and upwards from there.
What an inspiring conversation that was with Adam.
Absolutely. Yeah. Loved the conversation with Adam. I suspect that won't be the last time we hear from Adam on the Dropship Unlocked podcast. He's got some big goals and we're looking forward to documenting his journey and following along as he goes through. So we covered the ups and the downs through Adam's journey. And if any of those things resonated with you, if you could see yourself in the description of Adam's former self that he was describing, where he was in the hospital office and he was cycling on his bike at 8 p.m. in London, if any of that resonated with you and you thought, I need to make that shift as well, and the scales have just tipped in my world to the point of taking action and changing something about my situation and my future, then just remember that, like it did for Adam, success always begins with that first step. It's crucial that you make that first step. Sometimes that's the biggest thing you can possibly do. The rest of it is then just momentum. So if you want to get started and follow in Adam's footsteps, you can by heading over to dropshipunlocked.com/start.
Are you enjoying the podcast? We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment or a review and we might feature it in an upcoming episode. And for detailed show notes and resources, visit dropshipunlocked.com/podcast.
If you found value in any episode of this podcast, please could you take just 10 seconds to leave us a quick 5-star review on your favorite podcast app? It helps us more than you can imagine. And who knows, you might just hear your comments read out on the show. Thanks for being a part of our community. Your support helps us keep delivering new episodes to you every week.
Now it's that part of the podcast where we're going to answer a question that we've received in from a listener. So if you have any questions that have come up while you've been listening to today's episode, simply comment beneath the YouTube video version of this episode. And not only will it be answered in the comments, but we'll also potentially feature it on an upcoming podcast episode. So this week, the question has come in from Adam Glue, and I'm going to ask the question across to you now, Lewis. Adam has asked, how do you know that the competition stores are dropshipping and not buying the products up front? That seems like it's key to me.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Adam. And it's an interesting one. And this is a different Adam, by the way. It's not the same Adam we just spoke to in today's episode. But we start, well, firstly, you say that you think that it's key, but I would say that there are exceptions to that as well. So I've, for example, partnered with suppliers in the past who don't typically dropship and who, if you just looked at the competitor retailers, most of them were stocking the products. And so by that definition, if that was your rule to go by, you would have probably ruled out the niche, right? So there are always ways around it. And it comes down to really putting forward that value proposition to your suppliers and convincing them that you can be a valuable new revenue stream for them without them having to do anything other than just send out the products when you send them through orders. Now, inside our training, we go through a very step-by-step sequential process of identifying our direct competitors. And by direct competitors, we mean other stores that are already dropshipping. And so we can determine that through very specific ninja tactics that we guide you through. And then once we know that they're competitors and we know that they don't have huge premises or warehouses, etc., to hold stock, then we can be fairly sure that the brands that they're working with align with our business model and that they will dropship without us having to convince them or even show them what dropshipping is. So once you've done that, it makes the whole process flow quite seamlessly without all the friction of having to convince different people. But as I mentioned, you can do it as well. Like if you go into a niche where they don't typically dropship, don't let that make you think that you can't convince them to do so, because we've certainly done that in the past. It just, for your first business, if you've never run an e-commerce business before, in my experience, is typically a lot smoother if you can just ensure that dropshipping is a validated business model already and a method of fulfillment that those suppliers are already happy to go through before you enter that niche.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks, Lewis. Great point there. I think it's key to understand where we're finding our suppliers, but they don't always have to be partnered with other dropshipping retailers already. But okay, let's move on now to a recent review that we've had for the podcast. So a big thank you to John Aspinall, 5274, for sharing your thoughts. So John said, "Can't get any more black and white on information. A no-brainer."
There you go, clear cut. We try and make things as clear as we possibly can. So thank you very much for your review there. John, we're glad to hear that you've been enjoying the podcast. Now, if you found any value in today's discussion, we'd really appreciate it if you could let us know by leaving us a quick review. It should only take you a few seconds, but it means the world to us and it helps us keep this podcast going. So we're always looking to hear your thoughts, and we might actually feature your review in our next episode. Who knows?
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast. We hope you are leaving with new insights and inspiration to fuel your entrepreneurial journey.
To kickstart your e-commerce business, head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start. It's the perfect place to start and get access to resources that will help you build your business from the ground up.
And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more episodes packed with strategies, tips, and success stories. Plus, if you enjoyed this episode today, a 5-star review would mean the world to us, and you might even get a shout out on the next episode.
Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us today. We can't wait to bring you more insights on the next episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast.